I think the start was lovely and funny. We didn't know what was happening. I was doing like an SL2 type lineup, and then he had this cracking voice, which kind of opened up my songwriting. I could explore different areas now that I couldn't do before, which helped. And it helped the band, and it added another dimension to it. There was pressure afterwards, and I think the industry was changing, as I was saying as well, and also the dance element of music was becoming old-fashioned. I like to think we had the tail end of that industry changing, dying towards the end of the 90s. It was adapting. There was new technology coming in. Yeah, I had an operation. Yeah. I've had.
So that was why there wasn't the weight gain, because of you had a trapped nerve in your foot or something.
Yeah, I've still got nerve damage. Yeah, there was this level on the stage, and I jumped down, and my back jarred. And what had happened is I popped a disc. I got it checked out and had operations and stuff, and it was all the old back.
You got to keep moving.
I think that's one of the things I learned. You've got to keep moving, and that'd be my advice to anyone. You've got to keep moving. When you stop moving, the body don't like it.
No.
It really doesn't like it, and things start happening. And you get diabetes, and you get all these aches. But keep moving. Baby, if you've got to go away.
And if the piano at King's Cross
I'm right down this end of it now.
How does it feel to sit on that piano stool that literally Elton John, Alicia Keys?
They're legends, aren't they? I mean, my God, I was on and off.
You're a legend.
Yeah, I've done my bit.
A legend in your own right. The band tried to reform a couple of times as well. Why did they not work out as perhaps planned?
At the beginning, you don't know what's happening, and it's one of those things that worked the first time because no one knew what they wanted, and we was quite happy with how it was going, and we was getting blown from left to right.
Welcome to Rewind, back to the 90s. Today, joining me is Tony Mortimer, principal songwriter and founding member of E17, the 90s seminal band. Welcome, Tony. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you,
So how have you been? You've obviously been doing some promotion for Stay Another Day. I've seen you at King's Cross this week.
Yeah, the King's Cross thing. We had the choir from the Walthamstow Gospel Choir, and they was amazing. That was an amazing experience to play that there. It's quite an old piano though, and there's some keys missing stuff. But that's all right. It made me sound better. It made me sound bluesy. So I mean, every year the song pops up, and they sort of de-thaw me. And with Mariah, they de-thaw her first. She's the pinnacle.
She's a pinnacle, yeah. Well, you kept her off the #1 spot for 5 weeks.
We did. I don't think we knew it at the time.
It was quite an achievement.
I think she knew it at the time, but we didn't.
No one knocks Mariah off the top.
No, but didn't she get her own back? I mean, that's become the song of Christmas every year now.
Yeah, it has. So what was it like performing Stay Another Day to basically commuters, people passing through King's Cross Station? It must be.
Well, it's nice because you like to think they know the song and it's Christmas, and so many people say it reminds them of Christmas because of the time it got released. So it's nice to play it, and people have a lot of warmth for the song, and I think people have a lot of warmth for Christmas in general. So when it comes round, when the time comes, it's quite nice, and people listen, they stop, and everyone's filming nowadays, aren't they?
Yeah. What does that feel like?
Different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember in the old days, in the 90s, on the tickets, it was like no filming, like no cameras, no filming. People weren't allowed, and I remember we'd have security, and if, say, a newspaper took a shot, they would take the camera and smash
it on the ground.
Smash it on the ground. It was a thing.
Liam and Noel, Liam, do you remember Oasis? He used to get so angry if anyone was filming, taking a picture.
Yeah, because well, they used to provoke you a lot of the time for reactions because they're the money shots.
Yeah.
But now everyone's filming, and everywhere you go, there's cameras. You look up, you're just being watched, and you know, the 90s was so much easier, weren't
Yeah,
they? You
yeah.
went down the road and no one knew.
No one knew.
No one knew. You came back. Now you've got Find My Friends. Everyone to see you walking down the road. It's like that Harry Potter film with the map and the little
Yeah,
footprints.
yeah.
And yeah.
So how do you feel now to still be as popular as you were back then, really?
Are we?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
That's not.
think you are in terms of well, obviously connected to the song. You
Yeah, I
are,
think it's connected to the song, and
but
the song's popular, and it's sort of outstaying us, and it's sort of in better shape than some of us are. It's outlasted. It might outlive us as well. Yeah, no, it's nice to be. It's still popular, and I think there is. I was talking about it earlier. There is a nostalgia that sort of harks back to the 90s, you know, a bit, and people seem to like it. And I think sometimes it's because it was like the last hurrah before Tinternet and
it
everything
was
went
actually,
global. And
yeah,
before then, I mean, there weren't really even mobile phones. And trying to explain that to your kids that, you know,
yeah.
there was no
There
mobile
was no
phones then. We had to
phones.
go down to the red box
Yeah, yeah.
unless we had the phone at home.
And then we had our phone cards as well. Do you
Yeah,
remember like
phone cards
do
was
you
a
remember
revelation.
topping up the card?
Topping up your card, but that was a revelation because you had to have money to put in the slot
Yeah.
and or whatever. But yeah, God, phone cards, and then the first mobile phones came out, and they were huge, weren't they?
They
With
were
briefcases for
they were
batteries.
huge. They were massive. Yeah, that was the late 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they took off, and now the phones have become what they've become, like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
everyone's center, and you just walk around, people are just looking at their phones.
It's
They're not
very
seeing the world no more.
no, it's a shame in a way, isn't it?
Mm.
But when you got together with E17, obviously phones weren't about then. So how did you boys communicate with each other? You were just knocking on each other's door.
Pigeons. It was pigeons. Yeah, no, we'd get phone calls, faxes,
Yeah,
fax machine. Yeah, it'd be phone calls from the office or whatever.
yeah,
It was via phone calls then until the mobiles came out, and then they were really expensive, the bills every month when they did finally come out. But yeah, it was just the way you communicated back then. It was no different. You didn't know any different. I know the fans who now send emails, and everything's instant now.
yeah.
But back then they were pen
They were
pals,
pen pals,
and
yeah.
they were talking to people like in Germany, and it was taking a week
Yes,
for
you'd have
the
to write to your fans.
yeah, what you'd been doing and what they'd been doing, and
Yeah,
it was a different era, but it was nice.
yeah.
I think it was nice.
Simpler.
It was simpler,
Yeah,
you know. But now you sound like that generation. Remember, you know,
yeah.
our parents' generate. Oh,
Oh,
life was simpler when we were kids, but
yeah,
it was. And I think in another generation, it'll be even more chaotic and complex. It's just, you know, it's progression.
progression really.
It really is.
Yeah, but obviously forming the band in 92 was a life-changing kind of moment for you.
Yeah, it definitely
What-
changed our life. Yeah, we definitely noticed the
For the
change.
better-ish,
Yeah.
kind of.
No,
Yes,
it did. I mean, no, it was a wonderful, unique experience. And I don't know if it can be repeated in today's sort of society, especially the industry is so different now. The music industry, it's still adapting, and it's looking to how it can survive and adapt and change. But in our day, I think what we did was we had the sort of I like to think we had the tail end of that industry that's sort of changed, and then I noticed it like really sort of changing, dying towards the end of the 90s. It was adapting. There was new technology coming in, and now music has become much easier to make. You don't have to go to these massive studios anymore that were really expensive. It's a different industry now, and anyone can be a pop star. Anyone can make their video, which is what we want, because everyone always wanted to be a pop star, and that's what made the industry strong. But now everyone is, and you can make your own video, pop it online.
Yeah.
You've got a little audience, a target audience. So it kind of done away with the industry that channeled and controlled that. But yeah, it changed our lives, definitely.
Did you always want to be a pop star?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I dreamed of it it was my childhood dream of being a pop star and wanting to know what it was like.
Yeah.
And, I'd watch, like, you'd see the red carpet and Prince getting out, and you think, I wonder what it's like to live that lifestyle. Um, and we got close to, seeing what it's like, seeing behind the scenes. That was a lovely thing, and it was a lovely learning experience. And I learnt so much and took in so much of the experience. And like I say, it changed towards the end of the 90s massively. And you have short careers as well, which you think sometimes it's going to go on forever, but nothing can, and things grow up and people grow apart and stuff. But it was, yeah, it was a wonderful learning experience, and it was a pleasure to see how it works behind the scenes and how so many people are involved in making something happen. It's not like we was a band and then it happened. There was so many people behind it,
Yeah.
from the record company, the management team,
And Tom.
and Tom and the tour manager who would make sure you was on time. There were so many people in place making it happen.
Yeah.
That we was just a small cog in quite a big machine.
Didn't you write your hits in your kind of dressing gown in your bedroom?
A lot of them, yeah. Yeah, a lot of them was written there, but there's nowhere else to write it. I loved writing lyrics back then, and I was just looking the other day, I was at home just going through some old songs, and I had the book there, and I'm like, I don't even remember that one. And I'm reading my lyrics, and it's really strange. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was like a kid. And I'm writing this, and I was really impressed with myself. I was like, well done, you little fella. And now,
it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I love writing. And now, as I was saying, I've done like a children's book, which is sort of over 30,000 words, which is wonderful, but it's like a progression. It's like songwriting, because songs are stories sometimes. I love writing. I love words.
Yeah. So but didn't you feel a pressure when you were in the band
of course,
to keep up that momentum? Because obviously you were very successful very quickly, weren't you? You had a string of hits, and then it's like, oh God, quick, I've got to keep feeding it.
It was that. It was the momentum and the pressure that came with that, and you got to keep it going. And then I remember thinking, you sort of thinking, I wish this was the end, because this is really hard work.
Yeah.
And then take that, who are our competition, but then release another one, and I'm like, leave it out.
We're like, Gary, no more.
Stop it, Gary. What's the matter with you? And he's a great songwriter.
He's amazing, isn't he? They're coming back.
Well, they do. I mean, they fill stadiums here, there, and everywhere. They're wonderful. I think we could. I think if we did, we probably could if we got it right and got it together. But yeah, it was great, and they were writing their stuff, and
so you were thinking, oh God.
And I always put myself under pressure, but I could think. I felt the record company were thinking, yeah, we got to do another album and another thing. And I'm thinking, I didn't even want to do the first album. I remember when the management said we got like a 5-album deal. And I'm like, are you joking?
Oh, wow.
I've got about 3.5 songs in me.
Yeah. Was there a point where you thought, obviously you formed in 92, you signed your record contract, didn't you, on April Fool's Day?
As I remember, it was April Fool's Day, and I called me paranoid, but I think that was the record company's get out clause if it went wrong, and then they could say to their bosses, no, it's only a joke.
It's only a joke.
It's only a joke, as if they were going to do anything.
Never meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, did anyone else sign on April Fool's? I think not. But we did. Yeah.
So, but obviously, you had some hits very quickly, didn't you?
Yeah,
House of Love and Deep.
Things, started to happen quite quickly, because we turned up, we was doing these little radio road shows, and, there was a band, Take That, out at the time that weren't doing much, and there was this rivalry that started and got.
I remember it.
And it kind of got started by the press, because I think they just wanted something to write about.
Definitely.
So they were just comparing, and then it I think it blew up.
Yeah, it did.
And I think it blew out of all proportion. And it kind of catapulted both bands into the public eye, and there was reasons to talk. And I think you need a reason. You need a reason for people to talk and want to talk about you and go and see you. And I think the fans liked it as well, and it was something for them to do. And it kind of made the early 90s interesting. It certainly did for us. It was like a bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It really was, and it was kind of. It went. We did go to American stuff, but it never really happened. But it was like a European tour that went on for a few years. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was hard work, though.
Was it really hard work?
It was
So
hard
you'd never
work.
been on a plane before, had you? Been in a
No,
band?
no, I'd never been on a plane.
Boy from
And
yeah.
I've still got the plane tickets, and they're framed
Have
at
you?
home. Yeah, to Germany. Johnny Butland, the tour manager, he sent me the plane tickets to our first thing in
Was it the
Germany.
MTV Awards? No.
No,
No.
it's just a little. We was in a little tiny hotel in the middle of nowhere. These four lads were in Germany, and you're only young, and you're thinking, is
You were
the
like,
war
what,
over?
19?
What's it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We was kids, and we was quite young at heart, and we weren't worldly wide. That's for sure. But traveling the world is wonderful, and seeing the world, and realizing that give or take, we're all pretty much the same on the planet, and it's quite wonderful.
But how did you cope with that level of attention and fame? You know, it must be very hard coming from a.
Well, I don't know, because it was always outside. That's always an exterior thing. I've felt. It was the pressure of having, like a company. I mean, we grew up. We loved music.
Yeah.
And we loved sound. And when we got into the music industry, we weren't really surrounded by music and sound that much. And we were young, and we were directors of a company. We didn't want to be directors of a company. That's boring, And then we'd go and we'd meet with accountants, and we'd talk with accountants. We don't want to talk with accountants.
We
I want
just
to check out the new bass sound on that
Yeah.
synth. It was strange, and there was pressures that came with it. But the fame and that, I think that's external, isn't it? I don't know. It's at the gigs got bigger and louder. And they were fun, because you don't want them empty,
No.
and you don't want the crowd quiet. And our fans they must have been the loudest fans.
Were they?
Yeah, you just couldn't hear a thing. And you'd come out.
Because they just scream, like say,
it was a lot of screaming and shouting and hollering, and and it was very loud, very chaotic. But there was times of silence.
Yeah.
There was times of silence. Now I just think, I'm looking now, and I just see planes. We've so many planes.
And
And it got to a point where you'd come off the plane and you'd shake someone's hand, you'd listen to them speak, and you go, "Oh, we're in Sweden now." It was that, like,
Wow. And
'cause
so
you
what
didn't.
about burnout though? Did you not
Yeah, that came
feel?
afterwards.
Oh right, that was a few years
Yeah,
later.
that comes afterwards, and you do burn out, and I did burn out, and I just didn't. Oh, and it's horrible, because it's like a dark place where your enthusiasm's gone, and like you've burnt yourself out.
Wow, literally. Yeah, because I remember you being really slim at that point.
Yeah,
because I
thank
was
you.
a big fan. Sorry, that's not like.
Are you
No,
saying I'm
no,
not?
I know. That's no slight on how you are, but it's just because of the stress and the pressure of
Well, yeah, I was
you
smoking
think-
back then. I
Yeah.
was drinking.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, so
know,
my
me too.
my diet was terrible. But when you're like 20, it's okay. Early
Yeah,
20s.
of course. Yeah, you just do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then as I got older, I got pre-diabetic,
yeah.
and then this weight, I was about 12 stone, and then this weight just kept going
Kept
up, and I
going.
went up, and I was nearly 20 stone.
Yeah.
So I'm now on the way back down,
down.
which is nice.
But when I interviewed you, which was about 6 years ago, you had a problem with your back or something.
Yeah,
protruding
I had an
disc.
operation, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had
So that was why
4
there wasn't
little
it the weight
operations
gain
on my-
because of you had a trapped nerve in your foot or something. Is
Yeah,
that
I've still got nerve damage.
right?
I've still got nerve damage. But that's a part of life.
Yeah.
I'd done my back on stage in
Oh.
rehearsals before tours. It was about 94, I can't remember, 93,
All
94.
that jumping up and down.
I jumped off, there was this level on the stage, and I jumped down, and my back jarred, and and what had happened is I popped a disc.
Yeah. So it was a protruding
Yeah,
disc.
it was a protruding.
And did you not have it looked at for years then? You didn't
No,
have
I
an
didn't. 'Cause I
operation?
didn't know what was wrong. But I had a slip disc, and life sort of towards the end of the band, and on afterwards was really painful, and just sitting on planes was
Yeah.
really painful.
It's just like the worst thing.
Yeah, and I didn't know what was happening, but then eventually I got it checked out and had operations and stuff, and yeah, it was all the old back.
The old back. I know, we're falling
I
apart in our
know.
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the night. I wish we were back to the 90s. I wish we
Yeah,
were.
I mean,
Oh,
you
God.
see all these
Energy
boy
again.
bands have got back together and they're doing dance routines and that, and I'm thinking, oh, that just hurt my back watching it. I can't believe,
I'm not doing that.
I'd have to go into 6 months of training and yoga.
Do you
And
do any of that though?
yeah, I'm starting to get back into training.
Pilates?
Yeah, no, not Pilates. I did do Pilates as part of my
Yeah.
rehabilitation, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
That was really hard, but I've got into cycling and I'm starting to do
Really,
more of that.
cycling is so good for
Oh,
you.
it's so good, and it don't wreck the body, where everything
No.
else seems to. I started doing that C to 5K, where they reckon in 8 weeks
Oh, yeah.
you can run 5K. Well, you probably can, but I can't,
No.
and my tendons can't deal with it in
No.
8 weeks. Not
But
this
the
way.
point is that you're on the move and you're
Yeah, you've got to
moving.
keep moving.
You've got to keep
I
moving.
think that's one of the things I learned. You've got to keep moving,
Yeah.
and that'd be my advice to anyone. You've got to keep moving. When you stop moving, the body don't like it.
No.
It really doesn't like it, and things start happening, and
Yeah.
you get diabetes, and you get all these aches, but yeah, keep moving.
Keep
It's
moving.
life is momentum.
It is.
The
isn't it?
stars and the planets, everything is moving. It's as soon as you stop, you're going against all that nature and that,
Yeah.
and the body works better.
It does. So when you look back at the 90s,
Yeah.
what for you the kind of seminal moments of the band, in from the 92 to 97 to when you kind of disbanded or you left, what to you did you recall really fondly?
I think the start was lovely and funny. We didn't know what was happening at the start.
What, just a bit all over the
I
because
was
Brian
all
was a
over the
backing
shop.
singer, wasn't he, initially? Wasn't Brian brought in as a backing?
A dancer. They were supposed to,
Yeah.
like, was doing like an SL2 type lineup. And then he had this cracking voice, which kind of opened up my songwriting. I could explore different areas now that
Yeah.
I couldn't do before, which helped. And it helped the band, and it added another dimension to it. But the start was, it was chaotic because we were finding our feet, and then this sort of mania type thing was happening, and it was good. It was good. Everything we were doing was having a positive effect. There was pressure afterwards, and I think the industry was changing, as I was saying as well, and also the dance element of music was becoming old fashioned, because it kind of, for me, it started around 85, 86 with all that Chicago house. It was amazing. Frankie Knuckles, and then you had this
Love it, Frankie.
scene that
I
was
know.
it just kicked off. It was
It
like
was
you had Summer of
Love.
and you had all this stuff kicking off, and we were sort of on the tail end of that as well.
Oh yeah, we were there with the old
Oh,
white transit van with
yeah.
our white gloves and our glow sticks.
And all that acid,
blowing our whistles.
It was, I think that was something that our generation, that I feel blessed to have experienced. I think
I
it was
know.
like, it was a really cool music scene.
It was.
And
it was just so unexpected.
yeah,
You
it was
never
unexpected,
and you
wasn't it?
never knew where you were going
And
to
it
be
was,
1 minute to the next.
it just felt like it was the voice
Spontaneous.
of our generation and our team, and it was all love and happy and
Yeah.
peace, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And it brought an end to it. There was all these football hooligans of the early 80s, and it brought all that to an end in one foul swoop. Everyone's like
I
chilling
know.
out now.
It's like doctors and nurses and all
Yeah.
different types of professions all kind
Yeah.
of congregating at a weekend
Yeah,
for
and
a club night.
I think around the middle of the 90s, that kind of was dying, and then there was this new wave of Britpop coming in.
Yeah.
So there was.
you had all that as well.
Well, I
after
had that as
you.
a songwriter.
Yeah.
I had to adapt and
Mm.
try and change and adapt to what was coming in, and I was always affected by different music that came in, maybe too much, but yeah, I love the Britpop thing as that came in. But I think the early part for me was the happiest part, because it was the tail end of that dance, and I was happy to be part of that.
Yeah.
And I was really, things that came afterwards, even the Britpop scene, it was really super cool, but it wasn't us.
No.
And it was a different thing. That was more, I say Manchester, because the house thing was pretty Manchester as well, with the Hacienda and everything. Manchester's always been a a big heart of what happens in.
very
It's
much so.
very cool
Very
for such a
cool.
small city. It's very
They've got a
cool.
big Hacienda reunion in a couple of
No, they
weeks.
haven't, have they?
Yeah, Primal Scream. Everyone like
Primal
I
Scream.
know. Alex P, Tall, everyone's playing. Brilliant.
No, really.
Yeah, big. It's a Hacienda reunion, official.
See, that's legendary. Yeah, I mean, it was a scene that no one saw coming, the Chicago house. It was brilliant, and the dance music was amazing, and the DJing, and all my friends were DJs, and they were mixing, and it gave an identity, and it gave these people something to do. There was, the raves, and you've always got like the
What was
government.
your best rave?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really go to many. I know. I listen. I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive, but you'd listen, and there was that radio station, Kiss FM,
Kiss
which was
FM.
like pirate.
I used to go to the things at Dingwalls in
Yeah,
Camden. Dingwalls.
Did you really? You
Yes.
legend.
It was when it was pirate radio before it
Yeah.
became legalised.
Yeah, it was all pirate, wasn't it,
Yeah,
Kiss? And
it was
it was
brilliant.
really cool, and they're
Yeah.
really naff adverts that had loads of reverb and echo on them. Get yourself down to whatever this weekend. Ding, 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 ding. It was great, and it gave people identity and something to do.
Yeah.
And the music was brilliant. So I loved the start up until about 95, and then it kind of went all guitar-y. That came back.
Yeah. But the band obviously were from 92 to 97. Did you always think it would have a certain shelf life, the band? Or
Yeah,
when did your enthusiasm for it start to wane? Because obviously
just after 92.
You knew
92 and a half.
You all knew each other very well, having grown up together.
Of course, we grew up together.
And you were like different personalities, which obviously worked quite well at the beginning of the band, but maybe you kind of grew to.
No, I don't think the personalities. I mean, I don't think, even if we was in a room now, there'll always be a magic that was there that we experienced.
Yeah.
That probably we can't explain. But personalities, I think we all had a lot in common, and we had more in common than we didn't. And I think, life just gets in the way, and you go down different paths, and you have different responsibilities. When we started, we were kids. We weren't kids, but we was, we was really young without any, responsibilities, and we was quite carefree. And then we had families and stuff, and so things change, and you have to adapt and all that. But I was always heard that you have about 5 years of a lifespan. And if you look back at the Beatles and Elvis or whatever, they had a moment, and they rose and then they fell, and then the public move on.
Yeah.
And then your fans grow up.
Yeah,
and
they
they move on.
I know.
And it's not cool to like them no more. It's old fashioned or whatever. So it's very hard, especially as a songwriter, to try and keep them. And you try and keep them, and how do you keep them with your songs if they're just moving on anyway as a natural progression? And I think that's what happens. The sort of the flower starts to wither and die, and it's just a natural thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's down to people, not getting on, because people argue anyway from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
I think things have a natural lifespan.
Yeah.
And I think there was lots of changes at the end. So many changes. There was the end of the dance era now, where that was becoming uncool, and everyone had sort of like gone, okay, we're done with that. What's happening there with Oasis and Blur and Pulp?
That's
and
right.
they were the new thing.
Yeah.
And you're now becoming old and old fashioned, and you're not as wanted, and you're not as attractive as the new thing on the scene. So I think that happens, and that's for me, it was just a natural thing. It weren't nice though. I think it's like Elvis when the Beatles came along.
Yeah.
I don't think he liked it, but it was a natural progression.
But it was obviously your decision to leave the band. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, lots of reasons. But I think ultimately I needed a break. And I think that was the main thing. I needed a break. I remember saying, I need 6 months off. After the first album, we were supposed to all go on holiday and celebrate and that. Then I was told, no, you can't have a holiday. You've got to go straight back in. So it never stopped for me.
Yeah.
And I think I would have really appreciated some time off afterwards to just reevaluate what had happened, because I'd been working on this for years. And it would have been, yeah, it would have been nice to just have some time off, but went straight back in. And then I wrote the Steam album, which went on to become the most successful one. So it made things worse.
Yeah.
And then, you know, everyone liked this ballad that was on the Steam album, Stay. And then that made everything worse.
I know.
So it you know, it kept going, and all I was ever told is I can stop it, but I can't restart it. So you had to worry, you know, there's this you think, well, I'm going to spoil it for everyone.
Yeah.
And in the end, I was burnt out. I was burnt out.
So what was that moment where you actually were like, right, I'm going to quit? Like, when did you decide? Were you on a plane or sort of with your wife? Or
no, I'd spoke about it a few times with management, because I was really tired, and they kind of, I was living off a lot of their energy sometimes to keep it going. I'd quit a couple of times. That's it, I'm done.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going home. I want to go to sleep. And like, you know, I wasn't eating healthily, and it wasn't a healthy lifestyle. I you just burn out because you've given. It takes a lot. I find it takes a lot to write a song, especially if you're a bit of a perfectionist, and you worry about every word and stuff, and that's a lot of pressure. And you just need some time off. You need to come away sometimes, I think. But then you've got this industry who's making a lot of money, and they're doing well out of you. They don't want it to stop.
No.
And to be honest, they don't really care. You don't feel like, I mean, they're nice people, but they don't really care.
They don't really care.
And they're caring about the business first. And I always thought, you know, as funny as it sounds, I always thought if you was to die from doing it, that would benefit them. They'd probably get more record sales. So they're in a no-lose situation. But yeah, there was lots of reasons. But I just, you know, looking back now, I was just tired, I think, and burnt out. And that was my younger self. And you know, things are different now. I'm not as 100% as I used to be.
No.
There was a lot of passion as well. I had a lot of passion back then, and a lot of drive. And I don't know where that comes from, but you've got it. And then it kind of it's sort of, I don't know. Was it a culmination of being tired? Was it a culmination of not wanting to do it anymore? And it got to a point where the balance was I wanted to rest more than I wanted to do it. And then if I do another album, I'm going to make things worse.
Yeah. You are. I know.
I'm going to make things worse.
You're never going to get out.
I'm never going to get out. So when the changes were coming, and the industry and the music scene was changing, it was quite nice. It was quite refreshing, and I just needed a break. There was
what did Brian, kind of John and Terry, think about you leaving though? Surely they were upset because they probably knew it was maybe the beginning of the end.
Oh no, I'd hope they didn't think that. But I wouldn't know. I think they had their vision of going on. I would have thought so. No, I don't think there was that. I think they thought they was going to go on, and they did go on and do their own album, which they wanted to do for a while. So yeah, I don't know, but I was burnt out. I was burnt out, but just tired. That's all.
Yeah,
just tired, and you know, being creative all the time takes energy, and I just ran out of things to write about.
Yeah.
And even now, I look, you know, I was thinking I'm going to release an EP next year, and then I just bought a Oasis songbook, and I'm going to just read some of his lyrics, see what he's written about.
Yeah.
You know, because back then, I mean, I was in my early 20s. I can't write about that stuff now.
No.
It would be, you know, wrong. And so I bought a Paul McCartney album, and I'm going to look through his lyrics, and then you get inspired, and then I know I'll click and I'll go off again. But at that time, I just run out.
Just ran out of energy. So the
creative
band
energy.
tried to reform like a couple of times as well. Yeah. Why were those reunions? Why did they not work out as perhaps planned?
I don't know, maybe at the beginning you don't know what's happening, and then you don't really know what you want, and then later on as you get older, people want different things, and you've now got people coming back that want different things. So will it work? I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that worked the first time because no one knew what they wanted, and we was quite happy with how it was going, and we was getting blown from left to right. But it don't work. Things don't work. I don't know. Should I have gone back? Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. If I knew, I would have sorted it out and it would have worked. I don't know.
But were there just too many sort of, you just were not compatible, the kind of personalities in a band, or?
No, I think people just want to do different things, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't work in that way. I mean, if we got back, and I said this years ago, and I said this to a record company, but the record company was always the same. They want me to write the album, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that. I don't mind writing for me and writing for stuff, but going back there and doing that again, I don't know if I want to do that. You know, and let other people do it, you know, let other people do it. But then you've got this business side where people go, no, we want you to write it, and you've got the better track record of songs or whatever. Yeah, so it's different, and I think that put a strain in the band as well, me being the songwriter, and then the record company, even though I wanted to step back. I mean, the last album that we'd done was, what was it like? Was it I can't remember, Up All Night?
Yeah.
And that I was refusing to write any songs for it. I said, no, let them write the songs.
Yeah.
And then I'm arguing, well, the record company were arguing with me and the producers, and they're saying we haven't got an album, and they had done 9 songs, and they're saying we haven't got an album, and I'm like, we have got an album. That is the album. And they're saying, no, we haven't got an album. We need you to write some songs. And I'm thinking, well, no, because I think people begrudge me writing songs. So it's not working.
Yeah, it's not working, yeah.
And then in the end, I wrote a song that was like, it kept going on. And I wrote a song called Thunder. And then it started again. And the record company went, we've got an album now. We've got an album. I'm like, what? What? Yeah, we got an album. We can do this. No. And it's like, it starts again. And I think, you know, maybe there was a resentment towards me for writing songs and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I don't think I would do that again. I think it was, I don't know. If I was asked to, then maybe.
Maybe. But I suppose, as you said, you could still fill a stadium. You're confident of that if you were to get back together.
Well, I think, yeah, imagine doing a dance routine. Yeah.
We'd be wheeling you out on stage.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah, that won't be the first time. Yeah, but things take planning, don't they? And then, you know, people have to agree, and there's all this stuff that goes on. And that's the thing with the industry, is you see this thing on stage, but there's actually this huge thing going on behind and backstage, and there's loads of people involved and stuff like that. So yeah, it gets busy. But I think sometimes you need to not have people involved, and you just need to get some heads together and you see if it work or if it wouldn't work.
If it wouldn't work. So you would be up potentially for the
Don't
band.
even go there.
Go there. No. Do you still see them? Do you still see the band at all?
No, we haven't seen anyone. No, but I have seen all the other boy bands, and they're all back and doing their thing and stuff. And they found a way to make it work. But I think we was always different anyway, and I don't think we would ever find that
that kind of harmony.
Well, no, I think Brian likes to stay indoors in his house, which, you know, you have to travel. You have to. It's just it's the nature of the beast. There's so much traveling involved.
Yeah.
And I do watch these boy bands, and I think, well, how are they doing that?
I know.
And then they're going off and they're doing all this stuff. But you know, I think we've all found our peace, and I learned a lot from back then, and I've learned that peace is important, and you know, you need to protect it for your own
your own sanity.
So I like where I am at the moment.
You seem in a really good place.
I do feel
seem like
in a
really
good place.
like really zen.
I don't know. I'm just still burnt out. No,
You're just still chilled out.
I think, family helps, and they send to you, and when family came along,
Yeah, because your
it,
daughters are in their late 20s
yeah,
now, aren't they?
when that came along, it really gave me another purpose in life.
Did it?
Yeah, a massive one. And you become a father, and
Mm.
you have to you realize that a father and a dad are two completely different
Yeah.
things, and you have to really try and be a dad. And when you have kids, they kind of shave off the bad side of you. You become
Yeah.
aware when you're swearing and certain things, and you have to change who you are, and
Mm.
children change you a little bit,
But yeah,
but for the better. I
but
think
for
you
the
become
better.
better. And now, now I've got grandchildren,
Oh my God.
and
So how many have you got now?
I've got 3
Wow.
grandchildren. I feel very young,
Yeah.
but they change you again, and you've got to,
Yeah.
adapt, and you shave off them rough edges
Edges.
again,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's wonderful, and I think that helps.
Yeah.
I think that
That's
helps.
good. So with Stay Another Day,
Yeah,
obviously, I interviewed you for it, like, what, 6 years ago?
yeah. When I was
Then when
22,
you were 22, yeah, that's right. And that
yeah,
was for the 25th anniversary. Obviously, we've since had the 30th anniversary. When we first spoke, it was for Calm, wasn't it? The mental health
yes,
charity.
yeah,
To yeah.
which was nice, and it's
Mm,
nice sort of giving something back
yeah.
as well. It makes, that's like, it gives you a reason to sort of do
Do
something.
something, yeah.
And the record company came to me with that idea. And I'm not signed to the record company no more, but they sort of own the rights to the songs and stuff. And so they mentioned they wanted to do something and make it to do with charity. And I thought, well, that's nice, and
Yeah.
that'll help someone. And if it helps someone,
Mm,
because especially in the band, I had loads of, not mental problems, but when you're burnt out, it does make you
yeah.
reflect on things, and
Yeah,
you
because you were
go,
always worrying. I remember you telling
yeah, I
me you
was
were quite,
always, yeah, I'm a worrier.
yeah,
Like, I
like
am always
almost like
worrying.
catastrophizing
Yeah,
about
everything.
things. Yeah.
I will, absolutely.
And you were
And
drinking quite a lot then, weren't you?
yeah,
Like,
no,
yeah. I know. I,
I
I,
mean, yeah, I was. Yes, I
Mm,
was. I was
yeah.
enjoying Jack
Yes.
Daniels. We were very friendly. Yeah, and I was smoking, and I wasn't eating
Yeah.
them, and I was about 10 stone lighter than I am now.
Mm,
But yeah, I don't know. It's all a learning thing, and
yeah. Are you glad that you wrote that? Obviously, I know, as you say, it was a very personal sort of song to you
yeah,
because what happened with your brother. But in a way, it's people look at it twofold as well because it's a Christmas song. It gives them that kind of joy, doesn't it?
yeah.
But for you,
That's what's more important. Where the song went, and the the public took it and liked it, and that's fine.
yeah,
It's very strange when someone takes something of yours, and they see it in their way,
yeah,
and they say it's about this to them, and
yeah,
it reminds them of this. And that's what you do. You put your heart on a piece of paper, and you open up, and it's quite exposing. It feels
mm,
really exposing. Every line you write has come from somewhere, and but it's for them, and people like it. And if
eh,
they it's a Christmas thing, and Christmas is wonderful.
yeah. But initially, you were like, "Oh, we didn't want it released," did you?
Oh,
As a
massively, massively. I've accepted it over the years,
yeah,
but I struggled with it.
yeah. Because
It
Tom
was,
loved it, didn't he?
yeah,
Tom
he did,
Watkins, your
and so did
manager.
the record company, and so did everyone that
Yeah,
heard it. And I'm like, can we just stop?
yeah.
Can we stop?
Hello, what
All,
about
yeah,
me?
can we just not do this? And it was another great example of how you're not in control
Control. Yeah.
of what gets released, and people don't care about your feelings when it's
No,
business,
no.
and they're like, that's a really good song, we're gonna release that song, thanks for that.
Thanks for
And
that. Yeah.
but they were right. They
Mm,
heard something, I didn't hear it,
mm.
and they were right. And if it was down to me, the public would never have heard it, and that might have been not a good thing.
Not a good thing. Yeah, because
Yeah,
in a way, since it's even been written, obviously we're a lot more open now and candid about our mental
yeah,
health
yeah, we
struggles,
are.
and it's
Yeah.
enabled you to talk more freely about,
Yeah,
your own.
those sort of struggles and stuff, and then it takes us back to the mind thing with the
Mm,
song, and they were kind of connected, obviously,
yeah.
because that song came from like a suicide,
Mm,
which was a bit more taboo back then,
yeah.
and now it's not so much now.
No.
And to do it with Mind, and then to do it with the Nordhoff and Robbins,
last year, yeah.
it's nice things to be
It's
attached
attached to, it really is.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is, and
of course.
it's helping a bit. And I don't mind. I mean, I look up there, I still hear it like I came out of Tottenham Court Road and it was playing in the video.
Oh, at the Outnet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was like toy versions of us, and it was just trippy. But it's nice because like it means different things.
Things, yeah.
It means Christmas to some people. That's
Absolutely.
a
As
lot
soon
of
as I
people. It
hear
means
it,
I know.
it's all I think. You
And
know,
I
it's
get
like,
messages and people say, "Oh, it's not Christmas till I hear that." And obviously,
yeah.
the record company put the sleigh bells on the end,
Yeah.
which makes it Christmassy. That wasn't my idea. I'd
No,
like to take.
you'd like to take
I
credit for
mean,
that
I would
one.
like
Yeah.
to take credit, but no, that weren't me.
My friends have even recreated the whole Parker
So many
thing.
people
So many
do.
people have done it. They've
So many people
for
do.
middle-aged guys,
Yeah,
when they're white Parkers.
yeah.
I've
I mean,
sung.
that's one of the wonderful things about fame is you can't plan some of the things. You know, you can hope the band is going to be big and stuff, but you can't plan how it is. I didn't know it was going to go into competition with another boy band. I didn't know the ballad was going to get released or liked. And you sit here and then you're talking about it, but it's really nothing to do with me because that's just the public.
It's just how it is.
And then I honestly had no idea white Parkers would become a thing.
Where is that white Parker? Is it in the garage?
I've got a different one now.
Have
The old
you?
one will still be in the garage, yeah. And
yeah.
they was actually a bit creamy.
Yeah,
They were more cream than
Does it have your
white.
name like embroidered in the back of it?
No, it doesn't. No,
Like a
but I
school.
bet it don't fit. I know it don't fit.
So what was the cream? What was the coat you wore the other day at King's Cross? Was that a specially designed one?
Yeah, I bought that one.
Did you?
They were really hard to get hold of, white puffer jackets.
I
Now
haven't
you
seen
can get
any
hold. Now I've got that one, so I've got a few different sizes at home.
People might be hoping it's the original though.
Yeah, well, it is to them if it wants. If they want it to be the original, that's fine. We've stored everything from as we've grown up. We've got a garage full of all our old.
All the merch. Tom Watkins was into the merch, wasn't he? He was big on the merch.
Marketing.
He was big on the brands.
Yeah, marketing, and he loved the idea. We had a dog.
Oh yeah.
And that became the centre.
Poison a dog.
And a dog, and it was all
take that, and you had the dog.
We had a dog. We had 5 members, but one of them was a dog. And do you know what? It was a great idea, and it really. Yeah, it was really cool.
It was
Little
really
Levi.
cool.
It was wonderful, and there were so many elements that were added to it that made it a success. And I sit here talking and people ask me about it, but a lot of it had nothing to do with the dog.
Yeah.
The white coats. I didn't
the
see
white
that,
coats. Yeah.
There was
So you were 19 when you lost your brother who was older than you,
Yeah.
Ollie. And obviously it was only like 4 years later that the song was actually released. So you'd kept it kind of under wraps for that amount of time.
That feeling, yeah. And I was just looking for reasons to write songs. It was usually something in a club, or you're writing a song about this or that, and so it was just an excuse to write a song. And I thought, oh, do you know what? That's a strong feeling, and it's a feeling of loss. So I'll draw on that, and I'll draw on them emotions, and I'll write some words around it, and make it quite ambiguous. And I'd done a little thing, but I had no idea. I always had the "stay another day" line, but it just put it together, and didn't know, that people would like it so much, and they did. And I don't know is it cheesy for them, or is it a sing along?
Well, they might say it's a romantic song. Let's stay another day.
Think it's romantic, because it does. It is ambiguous, and can be taken in different ways, which is so it should be. But the inspiration came from the old boy.
But you were very both of you were very musical, weren't you?
Yeah,
you were in a
more
band.
musical than I was. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But you had a band called Brothers in Arms.
That's
or something,
right. Yeah,
the
after
Dire Straits.
the Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was the original thing.
Yeah.
And I always remember being in the studio with him, and he was putting this song down. I don't know where it is now, the old demo, and I was rapping, and then he stopped him. But what are you shouting for? I said, I'm rapping.
I'm
That's what
rapping,
we
innit?
do. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was very musical. He played guitar and the drums and stuff. But yeah, you know, it is what it is, and I've sort of cemented him in Christmas and white coats now.
Totes, yeah. You're like, thanks, bro.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks for that
Yeah, I
one.
was
Yeah.
cool until you wrote that song. But yeah, no, it's fine. You know, I talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
keep
And
it
I know.
buried away. But
Yeah.
it's, you know, but when I'm at home and I'm playing it or singing it, and you know, badly, it's between me and him,
Oh, that's
and it's
nice.
fun. Yeah, it's
Mm.
nice. It's nice to play it, and he laughs because every year I've got to drop it down a key because my voice.
Because your voice is like,
Baby, if you've got to go
away.
away.
And if the piano at Queen's
Yeah,
Cross
now I'm
got,
right down this
it's got
end
the
of it
key,
now.
has missing keys. How
Yeah.
does it feel to sit on that piano stool that literally Elton John, Alicia Keys, they've all sat on that
I
stool? Look.
know. Yeah, but they're legends, aren't they? I mean, my God, yeah, I was on and
You're
off.
a legend.
Yeah, I've done my bit.
A legend in your own right.
Yeah, in my own bathtub.
In your own,
You know,
in your own postcode.
It was lovely to do it. It was a really nice thing to do. And the choir was amazing. It was an R&B choir, and the guy, he forgot some of the words, and he was nervous and stuff, and everyone was nervous. But you know what? It was lovely because it's like a button I can press at this time of year, and it reminds people of Christmas and makes people feel Christmassy.
Yeah.
And that's nice to have. I would have liked to have had a few more hits or songs, perhaps, you know, that are like that. You know, like, I mean, Paul McCartney's got Wonderful Christmas Time, which I love.
Yeah.
But he's got so many more, isn't he?
Yeah.
But that's Paul McCartney.
Oh.
But yeah, he's got such a back catalogue. But yeah, I think sometimes I might be remembered for one or two of the songs.
More than that.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest boy bands of the 90s.
I don't think we saw it like that.
No, but I think as an outsider, I do.
I think we was in the bubble, you know.
Yeah.
I think we never got to play a stadium.
Didn't you?
No, we only got to arenas.
So I think Wembley. I thought you played Wembley.
No, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I think if Wembley Stadium rang me up, now
that might be the clinching moment.
I'll
that
check
you get
my diary
for
that weekend.
I might get the boys back for the stadium.
Yeah, we'd never played a stadium. That would have been nice. I think that's. I think Boyzone are playing the stadium.
Yeah, they are. They are.
That have played loads.
They're playing at Emirates. Boyzone are playing at Emirates next year.
Well, I'm an Arsenal fan, so.
So am I.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a North Londoner.
Oh, fantastic!
Come on, I know we've got to get to the Emirates. So that's what you're doing when you're not when you're not recording and you're not writing. You're down at the Emirates.
I'm down the Emirates, yeah. No, I don't go on. I went there to the new one. They call it the library, don't they?
Yeah. I guess the old one.
Yeah, the Highbury. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times.
I opposite.
What did I win? I won. Well, I didn't win. I paid for some tickets in an auction. David Seaman gave away.
I love David Seaman.
Yeah, in a box, and then I was in there, and I was watching the match, and then David Seaman walked in. Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah, it was great. He's a ledge.
So what else are you doing when you're not literally at home with your wife and kids and being a granddad?
Or painting the house or something like that. A bit of DJing. I love DJing.
Yeah, are you? So you're on the circuit?
Yeah, I love DJing.
Not on the
the 90s stuff, and it brings back so many memories. And that's the wonderful thing about music, is it brings back memories.
Yeah.
And it transports you instantly to this moment in time. So I play 90s stuff. I don't really know the stuff today. I mean, that'd probably be even easier to mix.
So you play all like 90s house music?
Yeah, house music and that. And I sometimes, like when I'm on my own, I play the 80s Chicago house and that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's great because you've got your own little rave going on.
Yeah.
And you think, I want to hear that next. And then you play that one.
Are you raving in your bedroom?
Oh, it's great. It's great. And I managed to get hold of the CDs of the old songs. And
oh, my God.
like even Sydney Youngblood and all these. You know, all those.
I could.
Yeah, all that. I love
this
it.
world.
And it just transports you back to your teens, and then you leave
But you're going to be
forward.
like Joe Wiley and Vernon Cage because they're doing their 90s roadshows, aren't they?
Are
Both of
they?
them. Yeah, both of them.
They need to get me on there.
There's a demand for it. No,
Yeah,
you've got to have your own
there is. I
roadshow.
think people look back at
Tony
the
Mortimer's
90s.
90s house
90s
classics.
section. Tony Mortimer.
90s bangers.
You 90s bangers with Tone. Yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I do the odd thing here and there. Maybe I'll do some more if people want me to. Yeah, I'll end up doing bits. But I love it doing the old 90s stuff. It is fun. I'm writing as well. I love writing by this book. I've spent years doing it. I mean, people like J.K. Rowling. They are amazing writers.
They are. I know.
They're in a different zone,
different sphere.
But yeah, so I've created this whole world about magic and music. And so I'm going to release that. I might.
Have you got publishers?
No. I think the management will. I'll leave that to them.
Leave that to the management
because that's the industry, and I don't really like the business side of it because they don't take your best interests at heart, so they do it their way. But I'd love to release that.
Just finally, what about the John Lewis ad? When you watched it, have you seen it? That with the Alison Limerick. When Love Lives. Did you love it?
I did, yeah. And
did it make you cry?
Yeah, no, but did it bring you back?
I know, I love that song.
Back. But then I see that guy and he's dancing.
I know.
And it's sad, and I can't get the sadness because I hear it and I'm thinking that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like,
and he's sad, and no one's in the rave no more. No, they're not in the rave no more. But we had a good time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And when we was in the raves, it was fun, and I don't know. I don't get that sadness from that advert. I love the advert.
Yeah.
And I play that in my set now. I love it. I love that song. Yeah.
I do. You play that in your set?
Yeah. I didn't know the lyrics. Well, I'm going to take you down. Is it Where the Love Lives? Because the singer that comes in at the end sings Where the Love Lives.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Where Love Lives.
I thought it was Where Love Lives.
Yeah. Oh, no, I thought originally it was Where Love Is. Where love is. That's what I've been singing. Isn't it horrible when they write the song wrong?
I thought it's Where Love Lives.
I thought it's Where Love Is.
Okay.
And I'm like, you've written your song wrong.
You got it wrong, Alice.
But that's what songs are. Yeah. It's your interpretation of it, isn't it? It's subjective, whether you like it or not. And you make up your own lyrics. And some of my lyrics people have made up about, it's thinking that's not what I wrote.
That's not what I wrote. That's not what I wrote. So will there be any kind of get together for Christmas with any of the band at all, or will you be seeing any of
family?
No, just family.
Yeah, just family.
Your two daughters.
Yeah, two daughters, and they've got their own family units now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we don't. The band don't talk anymore. So we don't.
Isn't that sad though about the band don't talk?
I think we was pretty concentrated.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. Bands, I think it's a moment. I think people find it sad because that moment from the 90s isn't still around. But I think that are many bands together. There's a few that come back.
Yeah.
And they come back for a period of time. But no, we haven't been back for years, so it's not strange to us.
It's not strange to you.
No, but people when they hear the records, obviously we're all together on the records, and that's there are moments in time that will hopefully not go away for a while.
Wow, yeah.
But for me, Christmas is about relaxation, and being guilt-free for Christmas. I always say Santa's watching, but he's not judging. And spending all day in your pajamas and
that is the dream.
And not worrying about what you're eating for once. Not that I do anyway, but even less so on Christmas Day. So for me, it's just family, and I love the fact that my children now have their own family units, and that's wonderful to watch and experience. And people like the grandchildren look at you, and you're the grandfather. You're supposed to be wise, and that I'm clueless. I'm still winging it. I haven't got a clue. It's funny when they call you dad and granddad, and you think I'm not really. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm winging it.
Tony, thank you so much for joining me on Rewind Back to the 90s. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.